Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Supreme Court continued its hearing on a batch of petitions challenging the Election Commission of India's decision to conduct the special intensive revision of electoral rolls in poll-bound Bihar. Justice Joymalya Bagchi summarized the petitioners' argument that it was a battle between the constitutional entitlement and constitutional right. The petitioners argued that the Election Commission did not have the right to decide on citizenship nor de facto remove an elector for the list. Now, in yesterday's hearing, Justice Surikant had acknowledged that mistakes may have occurred in preparing the draft roll, noting the ECI's willingness to correct them. The petitioners, however, reminded the court of its earlier assurance to step in if the SIR resulted in mass exclusion. Now, what are the highlights of the day? Today, Abhishek Manu Singhvi is also one of the lawyers. He said that a rushed SIR risks excluding vulnerable voters in Bihar, that is, the poor, the marginalized, the SCs, the OBCs, Muslims. Then he said low coverage documents make the process exclusionary. Then, similarly, Prashant Bhushan said that the search provision was removed after the Rahul Gandhi press conference. And he said that there were 5 charges against the ECI. Malafide of ECI is evident from its haste in conducting SIR. That's what Prashant Bhushan said. Then he said that the refusal to accept Aadhaar, EPIC, the refusal to publish the names of 65 lakh deleted voters, and the reasons for their exclusion, removal of mechanism to search for names in the draft electoral roll makes the entire exercise looks fishy. Then Prashant Bhushan also said that I can guarantee that the BLOs were filling up enumeration forms. So basically, how would one look at this entire SIR exercise? We do not know at the moment because the hearing will resume tomorrow in the Supreme Court. But also, Rahul Gandhi's expose, is it a turning point in the electoral fraud? Joining me this evening is former Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. O.P. Rawat. So thank you so much for joining on the Federal. My first question to you is, what is your feeling about this special intensive revision exercise which is being conducted at the 11th hour of Bihar elections? You have been a former CEC. Do you think that it was wise on the part of the ECI to do this?
I don't think it was wise on the part of ECI to do intensive revision just before the polls, because for intensive revision there should be at least a year or more gap between the revision and the elections. And this happened last time also. 2003 was the revision, and polls were in 2005. So 2 year gap was there. Another thing is opening up this kind of revision process just before the elections leads all stakeholders to fish in the troubled waters, and that results in utter confusion all through, everywhere, in all corners, all walks of life, and that is what is happening today in Bihar.
So would you blame the Election Commission for this mess they have landed
Uh,
themselves into?
I won't blame anything. They were also pushed in this decision, I think, because of the complaints regarding Maharashtra electoral roll and all those things. In their wisdom, they just thought that this may give them some succor, but it boomeranged.
No, it has boomerang definitely. But do you think that the election commissioners are so naive that they will be pushed around to do an extensive exercise like this, which can result into a complete chaos? I'm talking about the 3 election commissioners. They are wise enough to realize the repercussions, the implications of this kind of an exercise. So why are you saying that they were pushed to this level? Were they
I
being
would
pushed by
say
the opposition parties because they were alleging that there was a large scale voter fraud in the voter list in Maharashtra and elsewhere? Was that the reason? Or the reason was that they were being pushed by the ruling dispensation? And I'm asking you this question very, very candidly, sir.
Actually, I would say to her as human, not everyone can have that kind of wherewithal to anticipate what will be unfolding based on a particular decision. And therefore, I would only give them benefit of doubt that they took this decision only to ensure that they get some sort of support, that they went in such an exercise in intensive revision so that nobody complains of electoral roll defects after Bihar elections. Maybe that was the main reason.
No, but even if I'm to assume what you're saying, that their intention was right, But what has it resulted into? It has
Yeah.
resulted into a complete chaos, a disaster where everybody is running to the court, and now still people are accusing the election commission of colluding with the ruling dispensation.
Certain things they are relaxing, and I think that is helping to the process. Like first they relaxed in first week of July, when they said that all those people uh, who are in 2003 electoral roll, they will be considered as citizens. They don't have to give anything, and all those who are not in 2003 electoral roll can also submit their enumeration form signed without any document. They will have plenty of time to submit the documents up till the time of disposal of claims and objections. So that was the first relaxation. Second relaxation came now, just about a day back. They said that all those people whose parents are in 2003 electoral roll will not have to give any of those documents. That also gave relief to almost 30% of the remaining people. So that is what they tried to do to help people. And I'm hopeful that election commission will be positive to give more relaxations to help the electors and to ensure that no voter is left behind.
Mr. Rawat, do you think that the Election Commission is really thinking from the citizens' perspective? Because look at the ordeal which the people have to go through. All the ground reports which are coming show that the BLOs haven't visited the houses of the citizens. They've signed the enumeration forms themselves. Not one, but many exposes have shown that there are people who are deceased. There are people who are alive, and their names are they figure in the deceased list. And Yogendra Yadav also brought in two people like that in the court yesterday. So, I mean, would you call these systemic errors? Then there is a case of Reporters Collective, which they reported that there is a Valmiki Nagar constituency in Bihar, and there are more than 292,000 houses which have the address as 000 and 000. Now, can you call these systemic errors, or these are sins, deliberate sins committed by the election commission?
I don't think there is any deliberate sin by election commission, because election commission and their machinery, they never commit these kind of things. Second thing is, it is believable that some technological issue, some systemic error might have resulted in that. But these things should not be tolerated or accepted by the election commissions and their machinery. They once pointed out, they must immediately act on it, and within few minutes or few hours, they must correct it, and they must come clean to the public that everything has been done.
No, but
It,
Mr. Rawat, I'll give you a small example. Senior journalist Ajit Anjum had done an expose, not one, but many stories he did where he found glaring irregularities. But what happened? There was an FIR against him. Rahul Gandhi makes the expose, and he holds a press conference describing five kinds of theft, whether it is of the fake voters, the duplicate voters, bulk voters, single address, Form 6, and then he's asked to sign an affidavit on oath. Now, what is this kind of an attitude of the election commission? Till the time you were there on the hot seat as this former as the CEC, you all always came forward, and I still remember having interviewed you then when you were the CEC. Whenever there's those doubts came, you all came across through a press conference, clarified all doubts, and people used to go back happily. Why is that not happening now?
this is the most unfortunate thing which I would flag, that communication breakdown with opinion makers and stakeholders, that resulted in this kind of chaos. And I think election commission will do well to restore the communication links, to ensure that people have confidence, the political parties have confidence that they will be heard, they will be taken note of, and their suggestions will be acted upon. That is what is required.
Now look at the recent the political parties were holding a march up to the election commission. They were stopped midway, and this is just one day after the Rahul Gandhi expose. And then election commission says that I'm just going to meet 30 people, that's all. Now, should they be defining the number of people they will meet? And earlier also, whenever the opposition parties have gone to meet the election commission, they've always come up with certain numbers that, look, we will not meet more than one person from each party, or maybe one person, two persons from each party. Now, is that something which the election commission should be doing, especially in times when there is so much of deterioration of the trust within, as far as the poll body is concerned?
Actually, poll body should meet everyone, and numbers do not matter. Election Commission has the wherewithal and the resources. Like I remember, there was a delegation of about 170 people coming. We changed the venue from commission room to the meeting hall of election commission, and we met all 170 people there and heard everyone whosoever had any issue.
No,
So
but sir,
commission
Mr.
should,
Rawat, you heard because you had the will to hear the people. But here it seems it comes across there is a perception that the election commission doesn't want to hear the opposition parties. And that
yeah.
is why the perception goes out that they are listening only to the ruling dispensation. Look at the way the model code of conduct violations are dealt with. You will not find the model code of conduct complaints being addressed as far as the ruling people are concerned. But if it is the opposition parties, then immediately the news tightens.
That is really unfortunate, and that should not happen at all. And in fact, they should give opportunity of being heard to weakest of the parties or weakest of the person having stakes in the elections.
Right. But now I will come on to the question of whether at all this whole thing from the SIR, the biggest fear is, and the people in Bihar are concerned that there'll be an identity crisis. There'll be lots of voters whose names have been stripped off the voter list. Their citizenship might be stripped. Now, are these concerns baseless according to you? With the kind of confusion which Election Commission has brought upon the people of Bihar, how can one retrieve the situation right now?
I think during this process itself, if Election Commission wants to retrieve, they must study the problem on the ground. They must come up with more relaxations so that resource poor people are facilitated without losing their daily livelihood. They don't have to spend time in queue or in applying for documents. They are facilitated to ensure that their names are not struck off and they are able to prove their bona fides. Uh, Remaining things, I think Election Commission can change the stance to become more pro stakeholder instead of having this bureaucratic stance of this number or this person or that person. I think it would be better to accommodate every view, everyone.
You used a very right word when you said that election commission should come across as more pro stakeholders, that is the people, the political parties. But here it seems that the election commission is just pandering to the ruling dispensation. Now my question to you is regarding the citizenship, and then I'll come to the documents, the 11 set of documents which have been asked about. uh, is it in the domain of the election commission to strike off the citizenship of the people? Because there is a larger fear now that if once it starts in Bihar, they will replicate the same model in the entire country, because anyways they have plans of conducting SIR throughout the country.
Uh, I think they should take lessons from Bihar experiment and ensure that these kind of things are not repeated. These kind of situations are not repeated, and they should have SIR only where elections are at least 1 year or more away, so that people will have plenty of time to get the documents, get the proof, etc. As far as citizenship is concerned, Supreme Court has already held in 1995 that it's the domain of Home Ministry to certify citizenship, to investigate citizenship, and to seek proofs of citizenship. Election Commission will do well to adhere to its age-old tradition of taking one declaration in Form 6 that you are a citizen of this country and you are above certain age, means 18 years now, and going ahead with that for enrolling. In case they have sufficient evidence to make out a prima facie case that someone is not a citizen and has got enrollment, they have legal powers to give him a show cause notice, to give him personal hearing, give him an opportunity of proving his case, and then decide finally and pass a speaking order removing his name if he is not bona fide. So I think all these things should be followed strictly in letter and in spirit.
But what about the 11 set of documents which have been asked for? And one of the arguments coming from the petitioner's side is, that not everyone in Bihar will possess a matriculation certificate or a birth certificate or a passport. So, at least those documents which are available easily, that is the epic cards, the ration cards, they should be admissible. But then they are saying that no, we will allow only these 11 set of documents. That is what is coming across. So, is it not trying to make this exercise more complicated for the poor and the needy people of Bihar who actually do not have documents, and they will end up losing their voting rights?
Very true, and therefore election commission should devise some alternative documents, alternative linkages to those things which are easily available to resource poor people. Like they have done this, that if your parents are registered in 2003 electoral roll, you will not have to produce anything. These kind of things they must have more and more to facilitate the resource poor people so that they are not struck off unduly.
Also, sir, there is a lot of confusion about the 64 lakh voters' names which have been deleted. Now, the petitioners are saying that why are you not giving the reason? Why are you not putting out the list of those people whose names have been deleted? Is there something to hide? Why are you not disclosing it? Is the Election Commission right in doing so?
I don't think election commission has always been transparent, always been forthcoming with the data, always been forthcoming with the results of such exercise like intensive revision. So whatever are the causes category wise of deleting certain names, especially you are saying 64 lakhs, this information should be in public domain.
So you do feel that the Election Commission is not being transparent and there is something fishy about their opacity?
I won't say fishy, but they should be transparent. That is what I would like to say.
No, but when you say that they should be transparent, then my next question is that why are they not transparent? And you've also been a CEC in your tenure. How are things so transparent, and why there is so much of opacity now?
That worries me because I heard the statement that they will not give this data to anyone. That is not done actually.
And to the extent of saying that we are not bound by any law to put out these details, they are telling the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that is there that law will not provide these procedural detail, but to be on safer side, putting everything before the stakeholders, before the people who are sovereign in this country, in this democracy, that is the best way of doing things.
Now I want to talk about the Rahul Gandhi expose of Madhavpura. Now, where he's spoken about 5 kinds of theft. Now, I'll start with that one example of bulk voters and single address, where you have 80. Some houses have 200 voters in one room. Now, how can that be possible? And today there was a press conference by the BJP. They were saying that these fake and duplicate voters are all across, even in Rahul Gandhi's constituency. Then it is there in Kolatur. It is there in Raebareli. They've given all sorts of examples that fake voters are there. So please, will you also resign? Will you also resign? Today, Anurag Thakur held a press conference regarding this, saying that this bulk duplicate voters and fake voters are something which is normal. It seemed like that after hearing his press conference. What do you really have to say to this? These fake and duplicate epic numbers and bulk voters, single address, are these systemic failures, or this is a deliberate design according to you?
I don't think it is deliberate design, but election commission has left the ground wide open to everyone, and that's why other players are playing into it and putting their narrative in front. That is unfortunate, and that's why I say that if election commission had investigated all these allegations immediately and come out with the facts from the ground in public domain, nothing would have happened. This kind of situation would not have arisen.
No, but when you say investigation, who will investigate? Are you talking about the
EC,
election commission?
EC, yeah, EC must investigate quickly and do it.
No, but sir, Mr. Rawat, we have not heard anything about the investigation. They have asked Rahul Gandhi for an affidavit. Forget investigation. Investigation is too far off. They don't even think about it, but they are asking Rahul Gandhi to submit an affidavit as an oath.
That is why I say that this is very unfortunate that they are generally playing to the corners rather than addressing the whole issue squarely. All those allegations are specific. Just order an inquiry, one constituency, you have the tools, you have the machinery, you have the technology, and within one day you can come up with the results and show to the countryman, all voters of the country, that these are the facts.
But sir, there is so much of chaos on the ground. Everyone is worried about their identity. Everybody is worried about their citizenship. How do you think can the election commission really retrieve this thing? Because people have gone to the court. There are a batch of petitions in the Supreme Court. I don't know what the top court will say. I'm hoping and praying that the Supreme Court does find a middle ground where there's not so much of trouble for the citizens of Bihar. But how can election commission really retrieve the situation? Because it is such a big face loss for them.
Actually, election commission must never think of the face, because democracy is more important, transparency, credibility of elections is more important, purity of electoral roll is more important. All these things are top priority for election commission. Face comes the last, and therefore they must not hesitate in investigating all these allegations and putting all the results in the public domain. Second thing, facilitate the resource poor voter of Bihar to ensure that none of them, not even one of them, is deprived of voting in the coming election, and they are facilitated fully to ensure that their enrollment is not removed just because they fail to procure certain documents.
But Mr. Rawat, I was reading that in 2016 also there was a massive purification exercise which was conducted as far as the electoral rolls were concerned. A lot of technology was used. Now, what about that purification exercise, and why? What was the need to conduct another special intensive revision exercise? Now, is there a provision for this kind of an exercise at the 11th hour like this? I mean, the election commission could have thought it better.
There is a provision that before every election there should be a revision. But tradition has been that all revisions before elections have been summary revision, not intensive. This is for the first time that they undertook intensive revision just before the election. And that is why
No, but
this whole issue.
so this intensive revision you are talking about has resulted in intensive deletions. 64 lakh voters deletions. Now, do you think that this is normal? In the normal course of things, do you think that the election commission could have deleted 64 lakh voters?
Not at all, not at all. But in 2023, purification exercise resulted, instead of growth in enrollment, the depression in enrollment, and that was in public domain very recently. So I would say that purification exercise for electoral roll is a necessity. Continuously, it should be done so that our elections are safe, always free, fair, and credible. No denying the fact. But intensive revision just before the polls, we must never undertake that kind of misadventure.
You are calling it a misadventure, but do you think that the election commissioners were so naive that they did not realize what its implication could be? I'm sure they must have preempted it.
They could have preempted it if they had thought of all these problems which are coming up now, unfolding now, and they could have included all the facilitating provisions in their original order.
But like what people say that this looks like a deliberate design. Now, Prashant Bhushan, basically when he was arguing the matter today, he very clearly said that these are the five malified intentions, and one, of course, is conducting the SIR in haste, refusal to accept Aadhaar and Epic. Point number two. Point number three is refusal to publish the names of 65 lakh deleted voters. Fourth, they have not mentioned the reason for their exclusion. Then removal of mechanism to search for names. Now, this is also something which is very glaring, and I wanted to ask you that why did just the day after Rahul Gandhi's expose, the format of the electoral roll was changed from the machine readable format? They brought in these scanned voter lists. Now, what was the logic behind that, sir?
In fact, putting up machine readable electoral roll in case of Bihar, that was a mistake, because election commission, when they made this digital photo electoral roll, they found that there were three attempts from abroad to hack the database of election commission, and That really worried the election commission, and election commission approached the cyber security authorities of the country, certain all those agencies, and they advised that to safeguard your database, because the electoral roll database is too important to be kept vulnerable, and therefore we took their advice, and in our wisdom election commission decided that we will convert digital electoral roll to PDF, and then we will take an image of PDF which will be uploaded in public domain, so that our
No, but
database.
now that there are scanned copies of the electoral roll, but if there is a discrepancy, how does one scrutinize that? Because there are lots of petitioners, people from the civil society who are scrutinizing the voter list. If there is a discrepancy, how does one find that out now?
That can be easily done. There is no issue, because these are all part wise, polling station wise. So, whenever you have that, you can get the electoral roll portion of that polling station, and you can easily scrutinize.
No, but sir, it's not an easy exercise. If you look at Rahul Gandhi's press conference, which I'm sure you must have seen, he said, "Look at the mounds of papers, 7 feet long. Those voter lists. They took 6 months, putting 40 to 50 people on that job, just scanning one voter list after the other and doing it manually. So it's not easy then."
If you are doing it at the national level, it is a huge exercise and it will be mounds of paper. But if you are doing in a decentralized democracy, local level, there will be nothing, just a few pages, and go through and get it done.
But my last question to you, Mr. Rawat, is this vote chori campaign or the vote theft. There's a large impression that there is a massive vote theft, which is not only happening. I mean, there is an intention to for stealing the votes in Bihar. Then before that, also now the impression is, especially after Rahul Gandhi's expose, that the votes have been stolen. Now, what would you really say to this impression? And it is a big, big botch on the image of the election commission. Their credibility is in tatters. What can the election commission do at this point of time?
Errors in electoral roll being pointed out by a stakeholder is a very serious matter, and election commission should have taken it most seriously, investigated and corrected it. There would have been no issue. But since this is not done, and instead oath is being asked, that has muddled the whole thing. Otherwise, errors in electoral roll can never result in vote theft, because voting is done at the polling station where there are so many checks. Any voter who is fictitious, impersonating, or doing anything on behalf of some voter who is dead or who is migrated, he has to pass through three tests. First, go to that polling station. All the polling agents will point out that your photo is not matching with the electoral roll photo. Then the presiding and polling officers, they will say that it is not matching. The thing will be easily traced, and there cannot be any vote theft just because of the errors in voter list. Only thing is that since election commission did not take this initiative to inquire, investigate, and put the facts in the public domain, these things are happening.
But you don't feel that there is a massive vote chori as is being made out by the opposition?
I don't think that it is possible in our system.
Okay.
One or
No,
two
but
cases may come up, but not more.
no, one or two cases. But if there is a large scale tampering of the voter list like this, do you suspect that then it can tantamount to a big vote chori?
That is what I would say, that since this is unverified claim and we have no wherewithal to deny, if investigation had taken place and facts would have been with us, we could have denied it strongly. So right now we cannot say anything.
Right. All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining on the Federal. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.